What's going on, you guys? Your boy Ben Mahari here, represent Mahari Nation Sports Podcast. Much love to all my subscribers, all my brothers out there, and to all my LDBC brethren out there. Hope y'all been had a good, Memorial Day, weekend. You know what I'm saying? And the playoffs is kicking off, and it just keeps on getting better. But I wanted to share some breaking news that have broken earlier this afternoon, and kind of an end of an era in it seems. So right after Roy Williams of North Carolina made his retirement at the end of this previous season, this upcoming season, Coach Mike Krzyzewski is going to announce his retirement at the end of the 2021-2022 season. So this upcoming season will be his last. And I have to say, it's kind of, bit teary in a sense because Coach K has been pretty much a staple of college basketball for a lot of us. For people that have watched college basketball exclusively, for me back in the day when I used to watch college basketball a lot, Duke was one of those those teams, and it is today that is still among the Roman empires of college basketball in the seams. You know what I mean? And Coach K had a lot to do with that. And so, you know, to him to announce his retirement is just, pretty shocking, but to me, not too surprising because right now he's 74 years old and he's been doing this pretty much his since the early 80s. And so, it's pretty much the right time for him at this point to retire. But this guy has been pretty much the standard of college basketball for pretty much for excellence ever since he became the head coach of Duke University since back in 1982. Um, before he started coaching, he was born in Chicago of the son of a Polish American Catholic family. Um, he attended St. Helena Catholic High School in Ukrainian Village in Chicago, and then later on Archbishop Weber High School in Chicago, an athletic prep school. And he graduated from the United States Naval Academy in West Point and actually played basketball under future Hall of Famer coach Bob Knight. He was the captain of the Army, basketball team, and during his senior season, leading them to the NIT championship in 1969. From 69 to 74, Coach K served as an officer in the United States military and directed service teams for them for 3 years. After he was discharged from active duty with the rank of a captain, this is when he started his coaching career, being as an assistant coach under Knight staff during 1974 and set through 1974, pretty much all the way through 1975. And this is how he learned the coaching ranks through Bob Knight. And he was actually the coach of the 74-75 Indiana Hoosier team that went undefeated for the entire season, but ended up losing in the regional final against Kentucky. After that, he became the coach of West Point, and he led them to 73 victories and one trip to the NIT during his uh, during his 5 years there. And it was in 1980 where he became the coach at Duke University. And it was pretty much during the early 80s, the early line in the early stages, where I'll give you a little story. This was the same year in 1980 where Jim Valvano became the head coach at NC State University. And it was in 1983 that Jim Valvano won the national, basically won the national championship in one of the greatest uh, Cinderella runs of all time. And Coach K on the opposite end, unfortunately, during his first 3 seasons, were not winning well. They only won 17 games in his first year, 10 games in his second season, and only 11 games in his third season. And the fans at the time were pretty much voicing his dismissal as head coach. What is he doing there? He doesn't know what he's doing. But the uh, the athletic director at the time, Tom Butters, as his name, had the courage to stick with him, and it paid dividends. In '84, they won 24 games. In '85, they won 23. They started to slowly improve, and it wasn't until 1986 where they became the number one team in the nation and they made their first trip to the Final Four under the Coach K era. And it was that team under Johnny Dawkins, Jay Billis, and Danny Ferry, where the groundwork of the entire Duke program was laid out within that team. And during the mid part and the late part of the 80s, they made trips to the Final Four in 88, 89, 1990, 91, and 92, where they won back-to-back national championships. And it was in that period of time where we saw the Leitner years, starting back in 1988. You had great players at that time during the 90s. You had Bobby Hurley, Thomas Hill, Grant Hill, Antonio Lang, Christian Leitner, Brian Davis, Cherokee Parks, and also later on Jeff Capel. You know what I mean? Who else was also there too? I forgot there were some other players too. But anyway, either way, he was pretty much he was pretty much leading. He was pretty much the guy that led the uh, the ship at Duke, and pretty much was building that team into pretty much probably the premier program in college basketball. And when you look back in his career, when you look at his career from his entire totality, um, you think about his entire career. As I pull these numbers up real quick, there we go. He's already surpassed Bob Knight, his mentor, with most career victories of all time, with 1,170 career victories, and basically he'll add more after the end of that at the end of this upcoming season. He's won 5 national championships: 91, 92, 2001, 2010, and also 2015. He's also led the Duke Blue Devils to 12 Final Fours, tied for most all time. He's basically led the Duke team to 15 30-win seasons. It's basically the most in the history of Division One basketball. And throughout the course of his career as well, he also coached 41 and future first round NBA draft picks, which included guys like the Leitners and the Grant Hills, as I mentioned, and the Bobby Hurleys, but also Elton Brand, you know what I'm saying, and also Jay Williams, Mike Dunleavy Jr., also Shane Battier, Carlos Boozer, J.J. Redick, Sheldon Williams. I mean, the list goes on of this guy, and Lawal Dang too. You know what I mean? His resume in terms of coaching, the level of talent that he coached is just beyond endless. And he was not a guy that was always a showboating type of coach. He was a guy that showed class, personified, win or loss. I remember the time during the 1992 regional final against Kentucky. After Leitner hit the game-winning shot, um, it was pretty much that Coach K, quickly ran to the Kentucky players to pretty much console with them and letting them know that they played great. He showed tremendous class even after the victory. And then the uh, the the legendary broadcaster for Kentucky. Let me pull this up real quick. I gotta pull this up real quick. Kentucky basketball. There we go. So the legendary broadcaster for Kentucky basketball. I just need to remember his name real quick. Okay. I just gotta find this up real quick. Just real quick. Cat Kentucky basketball. All right, Cadwood Ledford. There we go. So yeah, Cadwood Ledford pretty much retired at the end of that 91-92 season. And when he was about to close off his broadcast, Coach K took the headset and voiced his approval and voiced his show of class and sportsmanship to the entire state of Kentucky. I mean, that's just pretty much class personified. That's pretty much who he was as a person. He was pretty much class personified uh, every time he won and every time he lost. And there's no, I mean, let me tell you something. For John Shire, who's replacing, Coach Krzyzewski at the end of the season, um, these are going to be large shoes to fill. I mean, it's pretty much going to be humongous shoes to fill. I mean, 41 years and the most career victories in the history of college basketball. All right, and he's basically tied for second all time with most national championships. And I can make a great case that he probably could have won at least 6 to 8 national championships. If you take away the 1999 team that won 37 games and lost to also another one team in the nation at that time, UConn, led by Hall of Fame head coach Jim Calhoun, and then also 1994 when they run up against the 40 Minutes of Hell Arkansas Razorbacks against Nolan Richardson. I mean, people don't understand how great college basketball was back then. I mean, college basketball back then in the 80s and the 90s was just loaded with talent, and you had players that stayed in school between the junior and senior years. I mean, it was pretty much the norm at the time. But unfortunately, because of the new landscape and the influence of AAU ball and the one and done situation, it's pretty much changed the entire landscape to where college basketball is pretty much diluted in some way to where it's lost a lot of its attraction and its luster. If you get what my drift is. But congratulations to Coach K on a brilliant career of 41 years. And I know he's had his haters along the way. You know, it just is what it is with the haters. I mean, you can't convince them in anything. But it's going to be hard not seeing on the sidelines and at Coach K's court out in Durham, North Carolina, and not seeing him on the sidelines anymore. I mean, pretty much since I was born, Coach K has been pretty much the guy on the sidelines in every Duke game throughout his career, except for 1995 when he took the year off. Um, he is going to be forever remembered as the face of college basketball during that period of time, and certainly he's going to be missed. Roy Williams announced his retirement at the end of the previous year, like I said, in North Carolina, replaced by Hubert Davis, and now Coach Krzyzewski is announcing his retirement at the end of this upcoming season. It feels like the end of the old school ACC basketball during the 70s and the 80s, going back to Dean Smith and when Roy Williams came back in 2003. I mean, it just feels like that. And Gary Williams in Maryland, too. It just feels like that particular era of ACC basketball is pretty much coming to a close with those two figureheads in college basketball, both Williams and Krzyzewski, finally confirming it a career. And so congratulations to him, and wish him all the best, in terms of his plans after retirement. Not just with the national championships too. He's also a gold medal winner that was coaching the Redeem team. You know what I'm saying? We cannot forget that he led them to 3 gold medals starting in 2008 with the Beijing, in the Beijing Olympics with the Redeem team. This was at the time where the USA team was pretty much embarrassed in the 2004 Olympics, and Coach K was brought in with the same level and the same level of intensity and also the expectation of excellence that he had to bring in. Because remember, he was part of that coaching staff of the 1992 Dream Team, and so he was bringing in experience and also bringing in the cachet and the credibility that really brought in the NBA All Stars to come in and play with the expectation of bringing back the gold of the U.S. And he did it 3 straight times in those three appearances when he was the coach of USA basketball. And so, congratulations to him. And he's already in the Basketball Hall of Fame, and he's already in the College Basketball Hall of Fame. And so, the man has pretty much built up a legacy that is just endless. And so it's going to be very hard for John Shire, to fill those shoes. And so, I wish him nothing but the best, for the next season when Coach K finally, steps aside. But as for Coach K personally, you were a great teacher of young boys and men, and you were a great influence to college basketball, and your resume speaks in of itself. And so you will be dearly missed. But that's my 2 cents. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And with that, I'm out. Peace.